Am I live? I'm live. Holy smokes. How did this happen? I can't believe I'm live right now. I wasn't meant to be live. Totally kidding. I'm actually going to be hanging out today with you and one of my closest buddies who's a Christian. And I want to pick his brain and talk to him about all sorts of stuff. We've been friends for years. You just witnessed, by the way, an intro that my friend, which we're going to be introducing in just a second, created himself. He has a knack for artistry and crafted that amazing intro. And the Matrix outro that everybody watches and goes, whoa, that's really cool outro. That is my friend, Jonathan Sheffield. He's an autodidact Anglican, and he's done quite a few debates here on MythVision. If you haven't watched them, welcome to MythVision, brother.
Hey, thanks so much, Derek, for having me on. It's good to connect after a while. And thanks again for inviting me onto your show today.
Of course. Look, man, you're my brother, and thank you for the intro, the outro. You've done quite a few, man. You've debated some heavy hitters on MythVision. You've had, well, not just on MythVision, but elsewhere too. You've debated Bart Ehrman. You've debated Robyn Faith Walsh on MythVision, Mark Goodacre on MythVision. You've debated Richard Carrier, but I don't think you did that on MythVision, that one, did you?
I think we had a final summary wrap up on your channel where we did the written debate on his blog.
Yeah.
And then we had a follow-up conversation on Daniel on your channel. So that made for a really good time as well.
That was a good one, yes. And who else am I missing? You've done quite a bit.
We've had Dr. Josh Bowen.
That's right.
We've had Dr. Kip Davis. We had Dr. Matthew Monger on there as well. So we've had a big list of names come on your show. John J. Collins we've discussed. So it's been actually really, really good.
Yeah, you got him here on your channel as well. It's easier to find him there than probably running through a million of my own. So go to his YouTube channel. I've got it pinned in the chat. But also recently, you've taken on someone that I think a lot of Christians, look, man, I'm not trying to be antagonistic here. You know, I've done plenty of that over the years, constantly causing a whole bunch of drama and, you know, debate and arguing. Look, I'm just going to keep it 100 with you right now. Okay. I have emailed Christian apologist scholars. I'll call them Christian apologist scholars because they are academic minded, but they have a very apologetic drive, right? And for my channel, we call them Christian apologist scholars, right? We're typically into critical scholars, and we don't care at the end of the day what you believe. But if what you're pushing for is kind of like, hey, I'm trying to convince people, we call it apologetics, right? So they're there to defend the faith. And who better to defend the faith against than Jewish Rabbi Tovia Singer, right? Well, I'm going to let everybody in on a little secret, and I've never told anybody this. I have emailed several Christian apologist scholar. They defend the faith. They argue and debate with all sorts of people. And me and Rabbi Tovia Singer have been friends for years now. And I said, hey, will you debate, professional moderated debate on MythVision podcast with Rabbi Tovia Singer on Is Jesus the Messiah, the Jewish anticipated Messiah? Every single one of them declined. Now, they declined in different ways, but the typical standard reaction, and I could predict it, was, well, contact Michael Brown and have Michael Brown debate him. That's it. They wouldn't touch him with a 1,000-foot pole. And then this guy named Hercules, Jonathan Sheffield, decides he's going to take up his mantle and face the dragon, right? Well, you debated Rabbi Tovia Singer, man, and you stepped up to the plate and said, hey, I'm going to challenge him. So congrats to you. I hope that more Christians will, you know, get in there. And one of the things I think that you do that's really unique, though, Jonathan, is your approach. You're not at this, if I may use the language, as a dick measuring contest. Okay, this isn't to you like, oh, I can't wait to make you look stupid. It's a conversation, and you're learning during your debate, even though you're trying to present your thesis. So, yeah, man.
No, thank you for that. It's I know it's It was a long time coming regarding the debate. Rabbi Tovia Singer is an excellent scholar. He's a good friend. We've had a number of conversations personally where we share our thoughts. I've reached out to him in the past for research, especially for upcoming debates.
Yeah.
And I think the beauty of the discussion was the fact that we got to meet in person. We have a really good personal relationship on the side. And I think an opportunity to really share my thesis, present my argument in a different manner that has been done historically in his debates. Was definitely an awesome opportunity. And I think sometimes what gets lost in these academic debates / discussion is first there's a personal side to the community, to both people, myself and Tovia. And then there's really an opportunity to put forth your academic thesis and see if the other party can meet the challenge in answering it. So I think just to have the benefit of presenting my thesis, a thesis that was articulated much differently than many of the other apologists have presented their case.
Right.
Well, I have tremendous respect for Michael Brown. The conversation around is Jesus the promised Jewish Messiah got caught up in a discussion on what the Hebrew means. My thesis wanted to focus primarily on the subject as a matter of history. Did Jesus fulfill the messianic prophecy in terms of looking at specifically the resurrection? So
Got it.
This was a much different discussion. It was great. Awesome event, and having the ability to meet him personally, face to face, was a great opportunity.
Is he a boogeyman? Is he a big bad wolf, or is he cool?
No, he is. He is great. He really got to. I mean, if you think about it, we're both from Brooklyn, New York. We both had Jewish mothers, so there's a really strong connection on that side of the house. He had, at the end of the conversation, he kind of shared with my dad, I love your son. Obviously, you married well. There's a lot of care and respect there between Rabbi Tovia and myself. He appreciates a lot of the work that I've done in defending the Tanakh historically, especially on your channel and defending the historical Exodus and the book of Isaiah and so forth. So he was really intrigued with having a much more academic, intellectual discussion on this subject. And from that standpoint, I believe we were able to do that.
Yeah. That's awesome. It's good to, I met him. We went down to the Wailing Wall together in Israel. So me and Neil hung out with him, walked the streets, chatted with him. He's fun. Apollo's Christian Apologetics gave a super chat too. Says, what does that make me? Second place? Just kidding. Bless you both. Also, Jonathan will be on my channel live tomorrow to review the Tovia Singer debate. A lot of people in the chat said that you got mopped, of course. They're like, oh, Jonathan got beat. He got beat. Look, Tovia definitely won this debate. He got wiped by Tovia. Nice guy, but Tovia is going to drown him in the waters. Let's see. Hold on. Oh, someone would like to see Jonathan and Dennis MacDonald in conversation about the context of the Gospels. That's a good, interesting conversation.
Yeah, I would say that Dennis MacDonald and I did have a conversation on the Gospel authors. It was on History Valley's channel, I believe, late last year. So Dennis MacDonald and I, got to kind of have an academic discussion on the issue of Gospel authorship on History Valley. So it was really good. Have tremendous respect for MacDonald and the work that he does.
Yeah. Love that guy. I was going to call him today, but dude, it's been busy. We're about to close on the house. I can't wait to get my bookshelf back. Like, I just lay these books on my table. I can't wait. Like, during the stream, I like to go, oh, check this out, and then pull sources and stuff. So let's talk a little bit about the Tovia debate. I don't want to take all the thunder from tomorrow's show with you and our friend Apollos, but how do you feel like, as far as people are saying, oh, they saw and they thought you got beat, right? Typically, that is something that you're going to see from my audience, of course, who sees that. But of course, they would also then turn around and say, yeah, but if you apply the same criticism we do to the New Testament, we also apply to the Old Testament, Tovia's entire world would fall apart as well, according to our own positions, right? So if you're consistent, suppose we're correct in our analysis on the New Testament, you apply that to the Old Testament, you got bigger problems in other ways. So how do you feel that went, though, as far as you and Tovia? What's your personal perception on how that debate went?
Well, I think, the debate went very well. I think in terms of what I wanted to present in my academic thesis, I think what happens in these debates is optics. I think what people want to see more is a dogfight. You know, who won the popularity contest? And I think even on my own channel, I ask people, interact with my argument. And while I'll see a lot of mixed messages, what I tell everyone is engage with the actual academic argument that I presented, and please challenge that aspect of my thesis. Yeah, with myself, and you've had me on your shows with other academics, it's not really about a dogfight, a popularity contest. Who's going to get the 15 seconds of fame? Who's going to create the awesome TikTok video that show, hey, I got you on this point? I think when Tovia and I were setting up this, we wanted to have a much more academic discussion on this particular issue. Obviously, he has questions on his side. I have questions on mine. But I think in terms of my opening statement went very well. I think I had a lot of research, a lot of information that went out there. And my rebuttal went really well, too. I think in the cross-examination, obviously, Tovia's an excellent speaker. He knows how to route the conversation into the area where, he wants to speak on. Obviously, I'm very courteous in those discussions. Obviously, I always hope to engage more with my thesis, but, he had questions on their end. So it wasn't probably what I guess the audience looks for in terms of slugfest or a dog
Yeah, that's
fight.
what people like that. Yeah.
People want to see that.
But Tovia does have the upper hand compared to you rhetorically on that level. You know what I mean?
Yes. So I think in that regard, it was an excellent thesis. I had a number of people, number of rabbis reach out to me. They really were really impressed with my opening statement, the argument that I made, and the approach that I took. I think most Christian apologetics, when they approach this, they approach it from, well, I'm going to give you a better explanation for the Hebrew than you can. Here, I focus much more on the visible sign, obviously being the resurrection as the means to help interpreting the messianic prophecy. So I think in that regard, it went very, very well.
Okay. Now, I would like to see personally, because I do like that about you. You carry a spirit where you don't care if the guy outwords you at the end of the day. It's like, look at what I'm saying, consider what I'm arguing, consider what they're arguing, get rid of how I sound compared to them if they're rhetorically skilled or whatnot. I'd like to see more Christian apologetic channels, big ones, actually review this with you or even have you on to help push your particular views or help you get a little bit more popularity amongst the apologists online, because you stepped in the ring with someone that, bro, none of these big dogs who've been around for 20 years, and I'm not naming names, but they're names that everyone knows, would not debate him. So I don't care at the end of the day what the results are. The fact that you stepped up to the plate and did it was impressive to me, and I'd love to see more Christians have you on their channels saying that as someone who's not one and saying, like, let's talk about this and what we thought you did good and maybe even what their critiques were of your own stuff. Hey, we could have done better. Like, that's what it's there for, to have these conversations, man. I must tell a little secret. We went to a conference down in Texas once, and I met this guy, Jonathan, and we went out to, what was that place that we went to, man? That was
Esther's Follies. That's what it was. It was Esther's Follies. They put on a sort of what is it? Mad TV, Saturday Night Live skits of music and dancing and magical productions.
Yeah, that was a fun, dude. We had a blast. Me and my wife met you and your wife. You were awesome people. You tried to lay your hands on me and heal me of all sorts of demons, and I just told you back off, bro. And that was the end of it, right?
Yeah.
No, but seriously, people just got to get to know you, and I think conversations like this are important with your friends, which we talk all the time off air anyway. What would you say takeaway? Just my last question about Tovia, and then we can move into a different subject matter. What do you think was his? What did he say that made you think, okay, hold on, that's a really good point? I can hear the kids, your kids running around upstairs.
Yeah, well, I think so. There was two sides. I think from the personal side, obviously, you know, I was raised in both faith traditions, Anglican on my father's side, and then, you know, sort of Jewish on my mother's side. You know, there's this tribal connection, not only the Brooklyn, New York, but we have, you know, according to Talmudic tradition, you know, we're Jews. And so there was this appeal back to come home, you know, and it was very heartfelt. You know, you referred to my mom, you know, my Jewish, you know, faith on my mother's side. And so, first off, there's that appeal, come home, you know, and he's kind of said that several times. And even after the debate, I had a number of audience members come up to me, and I think one individual was crying, it's like, come home, Jonathan, come home. So
Really?
I think on the personal side, that was probably heartfelt. And if you think about it, I'm up there on stage, and me and Tovia are talking, sitting down, and I have every single one of, you know, a largely Jewish audience. Reminds me of back home in Brooklyn, New York. They're all looking at me, you know, and they're like, in a sense of love, come back home. Like, why are you deluded by the Anglican faith and
How did that
Christianity?
make you feel, though? Knowing that they were saying that to you, knowing that they did not think you were on the right path, how did you feel emotionally? Did you feel a little bit uncomfortable with that? A little?
Well, I felt in two ways. I felt like there's this love and appreciation from this group, almost like the Christian side. If you left Christianity, Derek, and
Yeah.
all your friends are like, come back home, you know, we want you. So there's a sense of love and care, but at the same time, you know, it does become a little intimidating because you're up on stage, and obviously most of the audience is there to see Tovia. You know,
Yeah.
that's someone that they've been trying to meet for years, and he comes out. And obviously, you know, from my perspective, I do want to take it down a tone. Not that I ever get into a dogfight, but I want to be very respectful and mindful of the audience and the people that were there. So some of my timidness is, you know, in that regard. But
Okay.
so I think from that standpoint, and you know, part of what you know Tovia talks about is, you know, going back to the Tanakh, the Torah.
Mhm.
You know, is there some way? You know, he kind of alludes in some sense to Deuteronomy 13. You know, where Christianity is kind of leading you away from the Torah in the sense of, despite all these signs and miracles, you know, you you know, you're being led away to different gods. And is the sign that you're seeing or you're advocating for, isn't this is what is explained in the Torah? And as someone that knows it, you know, why are you following? And obviously he brought up a lot of other issues, but it's with that main theme in line that unfortunately when you think about Deuteronomy 13, from a Jewish perspective, God tells you to beware of these miraculous signs that are going to lead you away to worship to other gods. And, as someone that grew up in the Anglican tradition and also in the Jewish, that's always something that you're always in conflict with, when we start talking about, the Trinity and, Jesus's divine nature. It raises a lot of question. I understand from the Jewish perspective that would be very hard to reconcile. And I think, Tovia didn't say it in the exact words, but that's the meaning he was getting at. And I understood what he was saying. So I think from the personal side and the academic side, I think that it causes everyone to think.
Yeah. So when I guess getting back to the pressure of people, right? I experienced this too. And I wanted to ask you, how did you feel about it? It seemed like there was probably more than one feeling that comes to mind in how some of the people's reactions and the pressures of come back home made you feel. You didn't feel any way like kind of like like they're trying to make you feel bad about what you believe and where you're at?
Well, I think there's a general concern. It's almost like a tribal, because, my mom is of Jewish origin and I was born to her. I'm Jewish. I remember when I first shared that with Rabbi Tovia, and he said it in the debate. Jonathan is Jewish, despite his Anglican leanings and the upbringing in that tradition, he's Jewish. So when he looks at me, it's not a sense of, someone coming over and converting into Judaism. I was born into it. So it is a little intimidating. There's an appreciation that there's all this love and support. So it's not as hostile of an audience, but at the same time, it is a little intimidating that, I grew up with a ton of Jewish friends in the Brooklyn, New York community. And it is tough to sit there. I don't share this with too many people in regards to the debate, but, during my rebuttal, there was, someone that was an Orthodox Jew got up, told his wife and son, "Let's go." And that does kind of hurt, because I'm trying to also advocate my thesis and rebut Tovia's argument. And we have someone that gets up and leaves on the basis of what I was saying, because obviously he's having a hard time reconciling. I was making a quote from the Talmud to show when there was disputes between the house of Hillel and the house of Shammai, the voice of heaven came out, or the objective sign to settle the dispute. And I think I can understand, but that was
you into the jugular.
Yeah. So I do understand from that perspective. I'm in a largely Jewish audience, bringing up a lot of memories about my mom, my grandparents, the Jewish community I grew up with, going to synagogue, and then having to turn around that Sunday to go to the Anglican church, and just having all those mix of emotions. So I think when people are looking at me up there in the cross-examine period, those are things that, being very careful to kind of thread a needle in this conversation, not to make it appear that I'm being disrespectful or trying to challenge a Rabbi Tovia in a way that comes off maybe disrespectful. So there's a number of things that I'm balancing in that typical moment that I've already made my case in the opening statement and in the rebuttal that here's a time that Tovia's going to do very well. He speaks very well. This is his time to talk and share with his audience as well.
Interesting. Yeah, I asked because I was at a wedding at one of my close friends' weddings, and his father, which are very devout evangelical Christians, and I know because we went to the same church sometimes, and I know the kind of Christianity they come from, approached me after many years. He knows I'm now a host of this channel, MythVision. He knows where I'm at, And he walks up to me, and it's not a let's just dialogue and be intellectual. There was an emotional jab, and it was very personal. And I didn't like it. It made me feel really uncomfortable because I'm like, why can't you just allow people to have their own thoughts about some of this stuff or have their own non-beliefs or beliefs? And it was this idea that, Derek, you know better. Come back. You know better. Come back home. And I'm thinking to myself, there's a bit of arrogance there too, in a sense that they know and you don't. And there's this kind of like, it's like, so I wanted to ask you, as a Christian who's hearing from the Jewish side, come back home. You have totally betrayed us. You don't realize how betrayal this belief is. And I guess let me just ask this question. This is me talking to you. Why is it, though, Jonathan, that Jews at large, in your perception, did not buy into this, did not ultimately carry the torch and continue driving this movement forward? Someone like Rabbi would probably look at that as evidence to go, early on, we had Jews clearly saying, no, we reject this, and he'll give you all the reasons. Why do you think Jews didn't continue? Do you just echo the sentiment of Paul that there's a hardening of their hearts and they're blind? And a lot of people take that as anti-Semitic, as you know. And how do you navigate this?
Yeah, and I really thought that was going to maybe come from the audience. I was anticipating that possibly a question would come up. I know Rabbi Tovia has brought that up in the past. My response was going to be, if it was at the debate or here with you, is that there's a lot of history support that many Jews did believe.
Of course.
And I think when we look at the Church of Jerusalem, that was set up very early, not only all its officers and bishops were of Jewish origin, but the community itself that was wide was largely Jewish. I think, before, Christianity even got to Rome, in the 40s, it spent many years in that area, all over Israel, really growing. I mean, the Church of Jerusalem being real big, obviously, in Galilee, that whole area, it was growing. So I would say that, Christianity is the largest Jewish sect. So I would say in that regard, many Jews did believe.
Well, yeah, early on, again, if I were to ask Tovia or any critical scholar, it starts that way. But
yes,
but why doesn't it continue that way? And this is an important question, I would say, that Jews then at large start to say, we reject this. We do not accept this.
Yeah. And, and it's tough. And I always try to answer this in the best possible light because, obviously I don't want to come off as anti-Semitic at all. I think, there is this idea, and similar to what, we expressed of leave. Is there this idea that if I'm a Jew, someone that grew up in the Jewish community, and I would say this because, I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, and I remember having similar conversations where some of my Jewish friends would, why are you going to an Anglican communion? And we're trying to understand this. And a lot of times I was asked, in a nice way, do you feel like you're a traitor? And I think there's this perception that, when we are, converting over, we said that Messiah has come, which should be a joyful. I think, every person that's growing up in that type of household, it's like, hey, we're trying to keep kosher and we're trying to look for the Messiah. So, for us, it's like, we should revel in this. The Messiah has come, this is something that we should be celebrated with. And I think, I wonder now, given all this history that's been passed, is there a sense of betrayal in moving on over. And I would just
Was your
say that.
mom religious Jew or Christian?
So my mom was a religious Jew, and she grew up. And some of the things I don't that I'll kind of share from a personal side is, my mom's first husband was Jewish. So she was married previously till she met my father. She grew up in a primarily Orthodox conservative household, and it was the expectation in the sense that she would marry someone of her own tradition, which she did do. Obviously, it didn't work out, and I think as someone that has daughters, there's a sense that I think after a marriage that failed for a number of different reasons, for a person that her parents, essentially supported and kind of chose for her, she's like, well, in spite of that, I'm going to go off and go find me a Gentile per se. And she married my dad, an Anglican. So, for many years, she still maintained. And, my dad's a great guy. And, eventually she kind of moved over to the Christian faith.
Oh,
But
okay.
just to give you a little bit more perspective,
Yeah. That's why I asked, because to get a little more background behind you and then your debate with him. So, all right, I want to shift subject matter. I think that's important that we laid that out because, maybe tomorrow following your stream, you can navigate the details of the debate with Apollos rather than what's your background, what about your mom, what about all that. So that was important. You've debated quite a few different scholars, and I know that you're putting out invitations to other academics wanting to tackle Daniel.
Yes.
You're wanting to tackle the resurrection. You've been wanting to do this with Alex O'Connor even.
Yes.
We tried to put that together. He's busy right now, but maybe we can still do that in the future here on MythVision. Who else and what else? I can't remember.
Yeah, so I think my Daniel thesis, and I know I got to share some of this with Dr. Richard Carey, who was really great in navigating that discussion with. But I want to have something a little bit more specific on Daniel in explaining what best explains why Jerusalem wasn't conquered during the Greek conquest of Alexander. Obviously, my thesis would be, that he was presented the book of Daniel. And that best explains why he didn't conquer it. And the Jewish people received a number of preferential treatment during his administration, which obviously after his death, Ptolemy didn't see the same way and went and conquered it, brought a lot of them to Egypt. So different change in philosophy between the two administrations. Another subject that because when I first started apologetics, Derek, it was really in the subject of New Testament reliability around textual criticism. So, one of my first debates with my first academic discussion was with Dr. Richard Carrier on the last 12 verses of Mark.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was, not only an opening and probably one of my finest moments, but it was an area that I've been spending years researching. And so one of the things I had always wanted to tackle was 1 John 5:7. It's a hotly debated contest. It's an issue where you could see going 50-50. It's something that I know from a Trinitarian perspective, there's like plus and minuses. I think, from the modalist perspective, 1 John 5:7. I know a lot of the history, because it could have that modalist feeling to it. A lot on the Orthodox side kind of moved away. Well, we don't need to defend the Trinity from there. But I think it's it's a great historical question. Should it be part of Scripture or not? And that's one of the areas I want to look to explore to present my thesis on, because I think there's a lot of really great work on there.
Would that mean you're interested in debating an academic, a textual critic of some sort that is tracking how far back, if this is potentially original? Is that your point? Or
that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Was this part of the original text? I think obviously there's a large body of academics that would say no, especially on the Christian side. They would say no. I think even Dr. Bart Ehrman, brings up, this is one of the situations where, lends us to the idea that, we really can't trust Christianity on preserving their text. And here's an example of it with 1 John 5:7.
Got it. Okay. So then I know there's also the woman caught in adultery.
Yes.
That's another one you want to tackle.
Yeah. I think that one has a lot of great history to it. It's a fabulous account. And I even think about it from the theological ramifications of, Jesus saying, go and sin no more. But, if you leave me, where's all your hope? So come follow me. So give up sin and come follow me. This idea of when we talk about justification by faith and the means to our salvation. So I think it's a beautiful passage. I think most in the Christian community at the academic level say, no, it wasn't originally part of Scripture. It may be part of an ancient tradition, but I think it would make for an excellent discussion on that issue.
And so you're interested in mainly critical academics who take the other view, an opposite view. No matter who they are, as long as they're a PhD or an expert or something.
Yeah, because I think this allows you to really delve into an area that they specialize in, that they can really challenge your thesis, and you can really push forward your questions with someone that is knowledgeable in the area on those textual traditions, what the evidence says, so they can really speak to the evidence for and against.
What about I spoke to Mike Lacona earlier in an email. I'm kind of curious to know if you take a different position than his on the Matthew, what we call the zombie apocalypse passage. Do you disagree with him on this?
Yes. And
would you debate him on it though? Would you?
Yeah. So and I don't know if you remember, Derek, but in the debate with Dr. Mark Goodacre, he brought that up. It was more of a side conversation. Okay. It's like, well, do you really believe that happened? It's like, well, we do have to explain why 5,000 people, came out, to go see Peter afterwards, when he gives his great sermon. So, obviously, the resurrection has been my focus, and I think, going back to that Dr. Goodacre discussion, that was one of the points that he raised, on the side, you don't really believe that.
That's why I was going to say, because I don't think Lacona, and help me out in the chat if everybody knows, I think he got in trouble with one of the institutions because he took a position that this is more metaphor or something like that. It didn't happen. So I didn't know, maybe he wouldn't do the debate, but maybe he would. It'd be really cool to host something like that, have like a formal debate where you and him, two Christians, go at it on the channel over this particular here. Because I personally, I think you and I are fundamentally approaching this material completely different. Okay. So like we're on different planets in terms of how we're evaluating these texts anyway. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So that's what makes it fun for me. But it's really cool if someone's closer to your perception of the material, because I don't think we're dealing with historical data, right? Whereas you would. I think we're dealing with more literary, fictive, midrash kind of fanciful narrative rather than like this is what happened. Whereas he does take 99.9%, I think this happened, or at least to some degree it happened. But then he gets these places like this in Matthew and goes, this this seems to be metaphor or something.
And I like Lacona. I think he does really great work out there. But I would say for a lot in the academic field, and I would say this for Dr. Mark Goodacre as well, when you have 1 foot in academia and then you have 1 foot in the church, it's very hard to balance that, because there are things, and I would say, let's say not only this, but when we talk about 1 John 5:7, or if we talk about the woman caught in adultery, or the last 12 verses of Mark, if you have 1 foot in academia, you got to sort of agree, that, yeah, those things weren't originally part of Scripture. But on the other leg, say that, the Bible has been preserved and it's trustworthy and it's reliable. And then when you get to these other elements, like, all these bodies raise up, and, the saints came out of the graves. And how do you reconcile that? I would say for Christians, it's either you're in the Orthodox camp or not. It's very hard to balance, but I get it. For someone in the academic field, in academia, very hard to kind of balance, orthodoxy and the academy at the same time. So I don't envy anyone that has to do that. But that's one of the things we got to put in perspective.
I got a super chat, but I want to make one comment. You made me think of the recent stuff going on right now. There are Christian apologists and Muslim apologists online, right? And they've been going back and forth. And I can't remember the name of the Muslim scholar and apologist. He literally has his foot in both worlds. And he points out, he's like, the methodology for both are so different. And he said, listen, there are holes there's problems. And so if you're approaching from that critical scholarly position, you're going to find problems that aren't reconcilable with the faith-based perspective and methodology. And like, what you just said literally kind of reminded me of the recent stuff going on, where a very well-known Muslim speaker, I can't remember if he's a mom or not, but he's important. He literally got, like, they've been clipping it. Apologists have been playing it. Yeah, Dr. Yasir Qadi. And Apollos just said in the chat, and he's done this before in the past, where he's like, listen, my friend, the deeper you go into this, the more critical you approach, the more you realize that there are problems, there are holes. And Muslims lost their minds and literally wanted to condemn him. And of course, they were not fans of what he was saying, because it was giving credibility to those who are being critical of the faith of course, Islam. So when it comes to Christianity, I feel like when you're bringing critical scholarship in, you're going to have to change some things, I think.
Yeah, and I agree. And so if you think about it, I remember when I first had the opportunity to really fully present my thesis and have it vetted. And that's why I'm like forever thankful for Dr. Richard Carrier for, be willing to engage my thesis. We decided on a written format for the debate because there was a lot of questions, in academia, especially on the textual criticism side, that says, well, if you stepped into academia and you learn our methods and you see, these are like indefensible. You can't defend it. And they're like, if you ever try to, you're going to get wiped out. But what did I do? I actually defended my thesis in a historic manner on the last 12 verses of Mark with Dr. Richard Carrier, who is peer-reviewed on that subject. He wrote about it. It's in his work, and he makes an excellent academic case. And I was able to actually engage not only his thesis, but also present mine in an academic manner. And I think that was the first time to show the likes of academia. How do you do this in an intellectual way? And I was forever grateful to have that academic, because the question is, when you guys get out of your echo chambers, you can't actually defend it. But when I presented my thesis, it was up against someone who was peer reviewed. Dr. Richard Carrier is a serious scholar. He's peer reviewed on the work. He's a historian, so he's actually dealing not only with the documents, but the history itself. And this is how you defend it. And as you've seen me in my journey, Derek, having me on, I've always said I was going to do it my way in presenting my thesis with Dr. Mark Goodacre. And this has been my testament to how do you defend your thesis, or how does Christianity regain the intellectual high ground without having to play this balancing game of having 1 foot in academia and 1 foot in orthodoxy. And hopefully what I've been trying to do is showcase how that can be done.
Yeah, you've been a champ at just, again, how you carry yourself. I even told you on the phone, listen, man, if all else fails, I don't typically do debates, though I am considering potentially entering the arena and at some point doing these, because I think it's time that I also bring critical scholarship in a way that I don't think anyone else is wielding it within debates or within these kind of back and forth kind of dialogues with everything that I'm learning. I'd love to be able to do that in a manner, being respectful with the opponents, but I'd be interested in potentially entering that. And one of the reasons I haven't is I'm always on a journey to learn more. And I'm realizing every time I learn something, how much more there is to know about it. And I'm never going to fully get that whole everything there is to know about these things. It's always going to be an ongoing journey of learning. But you were one of the first people, and like I would do it even though I've told myself I wouldn't debate. I'm like, because you're such a gentleman, you're so respectful of who you're engaging, who you're competing with ideas together. And that's one of the major things about you, bro, that I love and that I appreciate. That most of all, I don't have to agree with your positions to realize that you're coming from a place that means well for the people across the table. Because what is the goal? Let's just pretend for a second, put our caps on. I'm the Christian debating you. My goal is to win you over, not to win against you, to mock you, to belittle you, to scoff you, to make you look bad. It's to win you over. And what better way than to show love and kindness and humble and meek instead of So I just, there's something about that I appreciate about you, and I always have. And I think you should never change that as you continue to do these academic debates. But mind you, you're also not debating. You're not debating like toxic individuals. These are PhD experts that also expect respect. They expect a reasonable interlocutor, someone who has rational thought. That's why when we would send these emails, I'm giving behind the scenes here, when me and Jonathan would talk about potentially him in debating these academics, I would reach out and I'd say, listen, he's an autodidact. He's very respectful. He is a professional. He's researching this. He's not bringing you just the typical apologetic approach. He's trying to approach it in a different fashion. And people were like, yeah, let's do it. So anyway, that's my comment. If you want to comment on that, I got a super chat, by the way. But
yeah, let's bring up the super chat.
Okay. So Lara Knight, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. John, what does being a Christian actually mean today? Our times, keeping the 10 Commandments as a lifestyle, or practicing Roman pagan Catholicistic rituals like Christmas?
No, I think that's a good question. Now, I would say, especially coming from the Anglican side, which has a strong Reformed background in our history, they would lock you up if you took off for Christmas. So, and with that too, with that background, there was a strong understanding when we talk about the three uses of the law, is to follow the commandments as the light unto your feet. So this idea of throwing away the 10 Commandments, I am Anglican, so I'm not on the Roman Catholic perspective. And remember, the Anglican Church broke off communion with the Roman Catholic Church during the Reformation. So we were pretty clear that we wanted to get away from their vices and rituals in that process. So what does it mean being a Christian today? Well, obviously, there's a number of different groups, and it can mean a number of different things based on the organization that you're with. For me, it's someone that lays our hope and promises in Jesus Christ as a means of reconciling ourselves to God. So, He's the means that brings us to God. So, for me, obviously, not only the personal side or the academic, but that's what it means to me. I think the Ten Commandments, when we talk about these debates, and I would just share it from the perspective of the Catholics and maybe the Anglicans on this issue. In our 39 Articles of Religion, we have in our statement of faith called "of works of supererogation," and what it means is
what? Abrogation?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and one of the things that the Anglican Church wanted to address in there is, on top of the Ten Commandments, is all these other things that you got to do. And the Anglican Church was wise to sort of condemn that in our 39 Articles of Faith. It's tough enough to even make any headway into the Ten Commandments. And when we see with Jesus and also Paul, constantly drawing us back to, obviously, not only the Ten Commandments, but its intended use of it. So, murdering is not only, the physical act, but also from the mental side of anger and hating, or adultery. It's not only the physical act, but there's also the thoughts, the lust. So, for us, we have a hard enough time looking at those Ten Commandments, because when you look at those, from a theological standpoint, we see how sinful we are. When you start adding all these other things, there's a sense that we can keep those other things, maybe not eating meat on Fridays. Those things we can do, and we get a false perception of ourselves if we can keep those things. But for us, it's that's the light, that's the lamp unto our feet, and those are the ones that we need to mirror again. So hopefully that answers that particular question.
Thank you, Solera. Appreciate that response. Jonathan, what else did we come into this knowing we wanted to cover? Because I know we covered the Rabbi Tovia stuff, or at least we didn't go deep into all of that, but there's people could go watch it on your channel. You've debated all these other scholars. You do want to continue to do debates. You created my intros and outros for the channel, which I am forever thankful for. What else was it? I can't remember what else there was that we were going to cover.
I do want to talk a little bit about my journey into apologetics, and I think we touched on a little bit in terms of why I went the route that I did. I think going back to my mom, when my mom passed away, my dad moved in with us, and my dad and I had been studying for years. And this was an opportune time that after my dad was married to, love of his life for over 40 years, how are you going to spend your remaining years? Are you going to be depressed and sad? And I talked to my dad, come in, one of the things that we've always wanted to do is kind of create our voice. We've been studying for years and we want to share our thoughts, but we want to put it on a much more public level. So if you think about it, I started with, just me and my dad. I didn't have fancy Ivy League credentials. I didn't have a big name. I wasn't a minister at some cool hip church. I didn't have any followers. No one that say, hey, you could do this. You're so smart. No, we went out and we developed our own, which goes back to the cartoons. We wanted to take something and present it in an Anglican way.
I gotta show the video, not play them, but like just kind of. There's some really cool cartoons. So go ahead. Just...
So taking a sort of idea from C.S. Lewis, who was an Anglican, and obviously a channel trailer is great.
Oh, dude! If I played it, the music might ding me, though, right? Isn't the music on?
Yeah, but no, I don't think I don't monetize my channel, so
I do. So I don't want to like mess it up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Karate Kid one. Yeah, these are from my debates with.
This
Dr.
one
Carey.
pissed James White off, right?
Yes, that was my official thesis against modern textual criticism, and yeah, that one's classic. I tell everyone, if you want to see a good understanding on the theories behind modern textual criticism, go to that one. That one is beautiful.
Yeah, there's some good stuff. I'll share it in the chat. Okay, sorry, I didn't want to distract from what you were saying. So
yes.
where you?
Yeah. So we I took this idea thinking when C.S. Lewis wanted to get his concepts across to a much more modern audience, he took advanced theological subjects when we're talking about original sin and salvation, and he turned it into his Narnia series. So I knew for the modern era, instead of me getting on camera, I'm not the the best speaker in the world and have this gift of oratory. But what I thought is we can present our thesis in a version of cartoons. And that created a lot of opportunity to start sharing my thesis because it was put together in a very fun, academic way that was kind of funny and exciting, and it was engaging, which really allowed me to start really sharing my thesis and opening up this discussion where we can start now officially defending our thesis with academics. And that's why, Dr. Carey was the first one that was really gave me the opportunity to defend my thesis on an academic level, which I'm forever grateful for, which opened up doors to other areas.
Thanks, Wade, for the super chat and for being a member. Appreciate the love. Look, this is what we got to do. It's been so many. Who are all the PhDs you have debated? I mean, I've listed a few, but I can't remember all of them.
Yeah, so obviously starting with
Carrier, you just mentioned.
Yeah, so Dr. Richard Carrier. We had Dr. Bart Ehrman, and if you think about it, I'm debating them on their field of expertise. So when I debated Bart Ehrman, it was on the Syrian Byzantium text form. So in his area of specialty, when I debated Dr. Richard Carrier, he was peer reviewed on the last 12 verses of Mark. We also debated on sort of a different approach to the resurrection of Jesus, where he was an expert on, especially in Roman history. Dr. Robyn Faith Walsh on the Gospels. So that's 3 right there. I also, on another channel on History Valley, debated Dennis MacDonald on those issues.
4.
Dr. Mark Goodacre.
5.
So on, the gospel, on the question.
Mark and priority, right?
Yeah, Mark and yeah. And so in his fields of expertise that he's written about, we've done Dr. Josh Bowen on the Exodus, on an area that he's familiar with. I did debate him also, I think, a second time on the book of Daniel. Dr. Kip Davis, going into the book of Isaiah. We also got Dr. Matthew Monger. We got Dr. Robert Price.
9.
Let's see. Um, let's see who. Yeah, it's obviously Matt Dillahunty. While he's not a PhD candidate, he is in the field. So I
Who?
got to Matt Dillahunty, even though he's not a PhD candidate, got to have a really good conversation with him as well. But going back to the PhDs.
Thank you for the super sticker, Miss Loreka. Thank you for support. I appreciate it. So as far as PhDs go, so far you have nine PhDs so far.
So far, yeah, I think it's been maybe about 12 or 13. And I think the best thing.
Didn't you have a conversation with John
J. Collins? Yes.
Yeah, that's a huge one, bro. That's 10.
That one was excellent. I think from the standpoint that I got to ask him a lot of direct questions, especially around the Book of Daniel. And I think from that standpoint, it was good. Trying to see. Oh, Trent Horn. Now, obviously, he's a Catholic apologist.
Yeah.
Robert Price. We had John Jay. On a separate issue, Dr. Gavin Orland.
Okay.
He's
a doctor?
Yeah, Dr. Gavin Orland.
Is he the guy who does YouTube videos?
Yeah, he does YouTube videos.
I didn't know he was a doctor. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And also, you know who we're forgetting? Dr. Maggie Bryson.
That's right. So that puts us at least, if you count Gavin, that's 12 PhDs so
Correct.
Far. Okay.
Yeah, and what I appreciate about each of those interactions is I got to formally present my thesis, given an opportunity to be vetted or answered or discredited with experts in their field of expertise. So obviously talking to Dr. Bart Ehrman about an area that he's very familiar with, the Syrian Byzantium text form and the origins of that text, or the likes of Dr. Mark Goodacre, where Mark and Priority that's a field that he's an expert in. Yeah. He's published on, he teaches, that he has the ability to directly refute my thesis. He's in that position. It's like me trying to go for my PhD, and I have to sit behind a board of PhDs that are experts in there to defend my thesis. So for me, it's like going for my PhD in all these separate subjects before the best and the brightest in their field that can invalidate my thesis. And I think this is what made the experience, for me, so great, is having that opportunity to do so. Same thing with Tovia. Tovia is at the same level that you're presenting, your thesis on Jesus and the Messiah to someone that's in a position to directly challenge and refute your thesis.
Interesting. That's a lot, man. There's a lot of people you've had these conversations with, and you're looking forward to doing more of these, hopefully over the next year or two. You want to see some more of this happen, right?
Yeah, I think obviously with work, having kids, more kids, it's been quite challenging. I just saw the Sheffield MA in meme theology.
Doc Pleroma being.
Yes. I do think some of my cartoon publications should win Academy Awards.
Dude, you're really my outro clicks. It does do good. I got to give you that. You have a real good skill there. Look, I'm not a PhD either, and I love learning from all of these people, and I feel like that's what's happening. Even though you're coming at it with a position, the thing I have to give you credit for, because I went into the first time I came across your person at all was in your debate with Bart Ehrman, and I thought, oh, who's this guy who's probably coming at Bart? He's not a PhD. I'm thinking he's going to come at condescending, arrogant, there's an arrogance often that comes with defending a position in apologetics. I've noticed it over the years, right? You're right, they're wrong, and and the way you were in the debate, I was like, kind of like this guy. I'd like to talk to this guy just because he was so cool and friendly in a debate where, everyone acts like if you don't aggressively win in this rhetorically, you've lost the battle and everyone's leaving Christianity or something. And that's just not how beliefs work. I was like, man, this guy's really cool. I got to reach out to him. And so anyway, again, commend you, because I was like, is this guy cool or is he going to be, one of these guys, Yeah.
And I think what, happens in a lot of these academic discussions is I think sometimes people see just here and now, they're like, but this thesis that I've shared, I have the opportunity to share it with a whole host of new audiences, working with people independently to share my thoughts, people reaching out. And I think that's where I have the most fun. Is sharing and having these after conversations about the debate. That allows you more time to really delve into your thesis, share where you were coming from in that perspective.
Yeah.
So
that's why I liked having these afterthought conversations with you to kind of get where you're coming from. Like the Mark and Priority, you went to patristic evidence mostly and pointed out that early attestation, people were already saying that Matthew was the earliest, or at least they placed it first. Mm-hmm. And he's doing more of an internal critical method approach where he's saying, no, it's evident Matthew's using Mark. And we know how the debate particular goes there, but I see what you're doing, and you're presenting ideas that, I don't hear often. It's not like a common thing that critical scholarly positions are having to engage, but it's cool to see those worlds kiss. The motherfucking Wendy Berg, thank you for the super sticker, the 20, and being a member. I really appreciate you. Thank you for showing up and dropping $20 at me. We really, really appreciate that. Look, Jonathan, I have to say, based on the fact that you described that this kind of goes back to the pride, if you will, of your own father, and like, this is a family thing to you. This is important to you. And it's a hobby, a passion, a love, but also it sounds like you love your dad a lot. And this goes back to like, Dad, we're going to take those conversations that we had all those years, and we're going to present them and make some noise and defend these things. It's meaningful to you.
Yeah, this isn't about ego. I know sometimes people are like, why are you doing this? This came from a place of, love. My dad at, 83 years old, I think for almost the last 9-10 years, he's been able to see all these things we've been discussing and seeing, how we've been getting our voice out there and sharing our thesis. I mean, I've had a number of people reach out to me over the years. I got to meet great people. I got to meet you because of this, Derek. Think about it. All the great people I got to really meet and connect with over the years and share some insight. I mean, in one of my cartoon videos, I kind of do the ninja scribes or the boogeyman in textual criticism. And it's interesting to see in a lot of conversations, my ninja scribe comment or the boogeyman concept as it relates to textual criticism come up all the time. I'm like, oh my, that's the chant I started with the ninja scribes. So it's been fun seeing how this thing has evolved. The ideas that we wanted to convey over is now having an effect on, at least what I see, people trusting the Bible more, getting a lot more faith in their belief systems, having some of their questions answered. And
right.
A lot of people do really great work out there. I'm just part of, what I do to bring,
it's
really
unique.
Yeah.
You're doing something unique, but you're playing a part. Let me ask you one more question I have, and then anything you want to unburden now, do it forever. What do they say? Forever hold your peace if you don't, or something. What would you like to see would you, I mean, I personally would love to see you on some big YouTube channels talking to them about these things. I mean, your debate with Tovia, like, didn't even touch the radar of any of the Christian channels, even if it were to have you on to go, you could have done better here. This is stuff you could work on, but your argument here, let's solidify your case here even more. If Christian apologists rallied behind you more, I'd like to see them do that with you because you're my friend, bro. Look, at the end of the day, you know where I stand in terms of my critical thoughts about all this stuff, but like, I just don't see them doing it enough with you, and I'd like to see that more. What would you like to see?
Well, my main purpose, organizing the debate with Rabbi Tovia was great. I mean, the experience of itself in working to organize a live event, to meet with a lot of people. I got to collaborate with Tanakh Talk. I got to meet William Hall and Greg McBride in person. Got to meet people that traveled all over the country to see the debate. And then to kind of have some really special moments with Rabbi Tovia behind the scenes and afterwards share those. Those have been the biggest moments on top of sharing my thesis. Rabbi Tovia has posted the video. My thesis is out there to all his followers. It's out on my channel. People are talking about it. Probably had the most comments on my channel for that. And yes, I think it'd be great to go on and really share my thesis with others. What was your thought process going in? Why did you take this debate?
Yeah.
Why do you feel that, Michael Brown, who we all look for as the savior of this cause, what was your approach going into it, and why did you do it different? And I think that's where, as Christians, I do think we got to come together and really work together. I never think Christianity, even though, we have all these different denominations, from the beginning, I always thought that, more Christian groups should work together. I really think this is a sort of team effort, where, hey, let's work together on these projects. Let's come up with some stuff. And I've always tried to instill that this is more of a team effort. We should be working together, we should be sharing ideas, but, then reality hits. I get, we all have our own programs. I don't personally monetize my channel. I know other people do. I know they have their topics or what they want to focus on. Obviously, that would be great. But at the same time, what I'm doing is fulfilling. And I'm having a unique opportunity, even though I may not be all over the broadcast. For me, it's never about the popularity contest. It's really about, I got to present my thesis and share it across to so many people that are reaching out to me behind the scenes that allows me to have these conversations. And that's been probably the best. So, I can't thank you enough for, reaching out to me after the Tovia debate. Hey, come on here. Let's talk. Let's get reconnected, just out of the blue. To talk about this. So,
of course,
these are the real friendships that I appreciate and enjoy, because I know it's real. It's not fake or phony. It's, we met each other a long time ago. We got to sit down and break bread, have a really great time.
Yeah, man.
So these are the moments I really appreciate.
Absolutely. Diamond Encrusted, thanks for the $2 super chat. I am Issa or Essa. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Look, I want to see you go on and do some reviews about that debate, because I think that's a big deal. I think it's huge stuff, and to see more people collab with you, to have you come on and discuss these different things. What are you seeing? Oh, Jonathan, but wouldn't you think this would be better, even if they're engaging your own stuff from the Christian side to strengthen their argument? Whatever. At the end of the day, I'd like to see more of that. That'd be really cool. But then again, who knows? Let's see what happens. I hope that it continues. Are you seeing what are you looking forward to next? What's the very next thing as we wrap up this episode?
I think, there's probably a couple of different, obviously, Alex O'Connor would be great from the standpoint of he's an academic, he's an intellectual, very much in the same way. I mean, he's rhetorically gifted, but he knows how to interact with ideas. And I think that's what I kind of appreciate about Alex is he's a thinker. He works through logical problems. He understands. So, and which is sort of like in these past experiences, they know how to engage a subject. Whether you get the answers that you're looking for or not, they understand what you're saying. And I think there's a lot of value in having those discussions, sharing ideas, looking at it from a different perspective. And I think that's what intrigues me about Alex is he is a thinker, he's an intellectual. He would get these ideas and probably challenge him in some sort, and we'd be able to have a real conversation on this issue. I know obviously trying to look into a discussion on 1 John 5:7 because even though there's a lot of noise around the subject, I think there's some information out there that needs to be presented in a way that allow people to think a little bit more critically about this verse, its implications, and the history around it that I think has tremendous value. That or the PA as well. I think there's tremendous value on that side.
Absolutely. I'd like to see it happen too. Even just to have Alex on the show at some point too, because, I've been looking forward to that. I love how he thinks as well. But also it'd be cool to engage some of these ideas I've discovered over time and get into the weeds with him about it, allowing myself to even discuss with him. But I would love to see a debate with you and him. Before I wrap this up, is there any final words from you? Because I want people to know that this Matrix outro you made, you created it. And by the way, it was, it's my dad who's literally playing the Morpheus in this. So again, I cherish my dad. You cherish your, you know what I mean? We got dads here. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. No, I would just say, obviously, I'm accessible by email on Facebook. Come out to my channel, look at my stuff. I think one of the things I do pride myself, it's alive. I think one of the things I pride myself in is I do try to respond to as many comments as possible. Sometimes it's a little bit overwhelming, but I do try to engage on my topics of discussions on there. And it's an opportunity for me to not only share my thesis, but to get others to interact and share the questions that they have.
I'm just showing how clean the cartoons are. That's
cool.
Oh
yes, Stewie's
love it. Yeah. Well, I definitely hope people will go subscribe to your YouTube channel, man. I love you. I really appreciate your friendship, and we go back. Thank you. Let's do this again, but let's have a debate. Let's have you come on and engage someone.
I know you're going to wipe the floor with me too. But no, I think it would be a very fruitful discussion.
For sure.
You're great, Derek. I love you to death. I can't wait till we connect as well. But yeah, thanks for everything, Derek. I really appreciate it. Of course.
Hey, man, what are friends for, I also wanted to do this episode just to show, sometimes we could put our beliefs aside and just talk to a friend, let them come from their angle. Even if you don't agree with their conclusions, you don't agree with their beliefs or whatever. Jonathan doesn't agree with mine. So he talks with me. I think we should have these more. I love you, man. And thank you for everybody who supported today with the super chats. We'll do another stream soon here. Forgive me right now. I am in this really bad bubble transition. We're closing our house this Thursday or Friday. I've got some work to do on it, paint, things like that, get the office set up, put my library back in. So I'll have books behind me again where I can access them and we can go deep on these materials. I'm looking forward to get back and hit the ground running. This is going to be my home. It's not a rental, and it's our first house we're buying. So I'm really excited.
And are you closing on the 31st or the 1st?
31st.
So last year, Savannah and I closed on this home on July 31st. So
wow.
The 31st will be 1 year in this home.
So we're literally going to have a closing home anniversary with you.
Yes. Yeah, we can celebrate that every year. On July 31st is when we closed on this home.
Well, I look forward to closing and finally being somewhere where I can put my roots and do this a lot more. I've got ideas. Oh, I've got a lot of ideas. So we'll hope to put some stuff together. Thank you, brother. Anything else?
Right, thank you. No, that's it.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, never forget, we are MythVision.
Son, do you want to know what the truth is? After this, there's no turning back. You take the blue pill and you wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to. You take the red pill and you stay in Wonderland, and I show you just how deep the rabbit hole goes. Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.